This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and as always today joined by my good friend and wonderful co-host, Zach. Mate, still unbeaten, right?
Yes, that's what we can take from it, right? Is that didn't lose, also didn't win, but Bristol made it really hard. Bristol made it really, really hard. We had a discussion about it in the car on the way back, and Bristol, yeah, they came to continue their curse, and they didn't manage it quite. They not without trying. I think that the fatigue of the season is kicking in, and as frustrating as the draw is, because it now means that we're having to rely on playoffs. There was a time of the season where we didn't think we'd get playoffs, and having come home, checked the old timeline on all the socials, seen the scenes at Leicester, which is just, I guess, shocking. Is like the only. I think they all seem shell shocked. I don't know what to say about that, really, other than that. They're going to end up. I think one of the first tweets I saw was like, Leicester's new £86 million training ground getting prepped for League One. Yeah. It's just like very, oh wow, it could be so much worse.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. I mean, so much worse. We talk about how some draws feel like wins and some draws feel like losses, and as you know, I'm a person who feels the football, right? Like, it drives the emotions, and sometimes I have to take a step back and try and reflect on it. And it felt when I left the stadium like that was a draw that felt like a loss. But as I try to take a step back and reflect on it and think of the slightly bigger picture, we've confirmed playoff places with that point. We're still 20 games unbeaten. Mm-hmm. To even be in a position where we thought we might win all of the games for the rest of the season is an insane position to have been in. And although it effectively is the nail in the coffin, barring something really strange for any hope we had of automatics, it's probably irrelevant anyway, because Millwall beat Stoke tonight, who were the most likely team to get anything from Millwall, because they now go on to play relegated and defeated Leicester, and then they go on to play Oxford, who by the time they play them will also probably be relegated. So with all of that, it was a gritty performance where we showed the character to fight back twice in a game that, you're right, Bristol came out fast and with quality and played really well and made it really difficult and put in a really good effort. That's what I guess is what you'd expect from a Roy Hodgson team, right? To come out and do that. And it just is.
Up until that point, despite us talking about it pre-game, completely forgot that Roy Hodgson was their manager until that. I don't know. It genuinely, weirdly felt like fighting against fate, right? Like when we went 1-0 down very, very early on, some people were still pouring into the stadium. They were coming in and watching the reaction of so many people that were just sort of hang on, what? Was bizarre. You're right, fighting back and managing to, not only once but twice, and really putting towards a push towards the end of the game to try and score a winner. Even Pretz came up, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't. Corner. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But there are times this season where this same team would have collapsed after one.
Absolutely. So I mean, especially the nature of the first goal, right? It's a Ryan Manning own goal. I mean, I can't. I've watched it back on the highlights since I come home, and I can't. The only way I can fault him really is that he was the wrong side of the man in the first place to be in that position. But other than that, it just kind of is what it is. But it was a tricky start. But I mean, we were hampered immediately, right? With Stevens going off in the warm up injured and having to bring in Wood, and we looked unsettled and perhaps a little fatigued.
Yeah, I think that
To
nothing
start
like
with.
you prepare for stuff like that, but sometimes even if as much as you could mentally prepare for something like that, when it actually happens, it's always going to have a bit of a knock-on effect when you're about to go into something and all of a sudden someone's been subbed out. It's always going to, especially with again that they came out to disrupt the course of play, and fair play to Bristol City because they played a good game of football a good game of football for what they wanted to achieve, right? Like,
Well, look, their movement up front was excellent, and what it did was successfully drag our defenders out of position enough to create that space in behind on several occasions. And they had a few. I mean, they kind of scored from two of their three best chances. They had a couple of half, chances where if the shot was better, they probably do it. But yeah, their movement up front caused problems for the entirety of the game. But it really took us equalising and getting the goal for us to really switch into a gear that we've seen from us, the last few games. As soon as we scored, the tempo was upped. We went back at them, and I said to you, I don't know whether it's deflated them or inflated us, and you said it's kind of both.
oh yeah, I think it was a bit of both, and also I think that the crowd then got riled up as well. And again, I do think it's just I just do think it's just fatigue. You could see it on some of the players. I was surprised by some of the team selection. I don't mean that in a way that is critical to Tonda. I think he's earned the right to pick whatever team he believes, but I think Azaz was a little bit off tonight, and I don't mean that. Considering he was out injured, came back, and maybe just tonight was a game too far. I kind of feel the same. This has happened to Archer a few times where he's put in some really, really amazing substitute performances, like scored a goal, and then he gets the start that he's kind of wanted, and then didn't really manage to do what he wanted to be able to prove his position. I don't think it's because of the technical ability of the player, but you did point out that it's just like his first touch just meant that
it really lets him down.
And I think the
his
problem
work rate was excellent.
Always is.
Ball and he won the ball back in several critical transitional plays, and he had a half decent game, was in amongst it. But yeah, it's time and time again you try and use him as the outlet when you're sort of rotating around with that front line, and his first touch is just not good enough to do that and do the hold up play. You need to be playing it in front of him for him to run onto it. And
but it was also, I think that it wouldn't be as obvious if we were able to win the second balls that we needed to win this game. But you could tell, this is where we were talking about the fatigue that's maybe set in, is that we just sometimes we're losing the ball in silly little ways and not quite being able to keep it. And
they just seem to be first underneath the ball more often than not. They were there and getting it. And because of that, we really struggled to get our foot into the game at any point and really build momentum. And in the first half, particularly, their shape and their organisation was excellent. We were struggling to break it down, and that's why we were, playing with it around at the back, trying to drag them out to create the space. And then we got caught at the back a couple of times and nearly created our own problems.
I wish people. I wish it was more obvious that that's what we're doing though, because I think the frustration around the stadium is that you could feel that it's we're just messing about with it at the back, and it was not that we try to do that much anymore, specifically because of the type of opponent we're playing. But again, Bristol City came with a game plan and they executed it pretty successfully, all things considered. And we managed to fight back in a way that we wouldn't have previously in a disrupted side, in a fatigue side. And as much as we would have, as you pointed out, loved to be in a position where we win every single game in a row, because it genuinely felt like we'd do that. I just felt even from the start the energy tonight was a bit okay, is this about surviving this game more than winning it? And I don't know. That's kind of how I felt. Maybe I'm just not allowed to come with you ever again, or specifically sit with you. Turns out if it's around to the stadium, it's not a problem.
What you say about you wish more people sort of understood it and saw it, it should have been obvious that was the case, because in that moment where they were choosing to press us high, and we were trying to drag them out, and we were sort of messing around with the back and nearly got ourselves in trouble and nearly broke out a couple of times too. Sort of immediately after that phase of play, they dropped their high press and dropped back to a low block. And then you see us, sauntering forward with the ball, and you've got Taylor Harbour-Bellis and Nathan Wood in their half trying to find the passes, and they're just closing down the space where you can pass it around and get it out to the winger. But by the time you get it out to the winger, they got two players there covering it. So then you pass it back to recycling, you get it out to the other winger, and they got two players there covering it. And then it's just, we didn't have and it's not, it's not our lack of creativity. It's because they were very well organised and did their job very well. And we're always going to, they have the second best defensive record in the league. So, that was to be expected. It was always going to be a game where patience was going to be the difficult bit. And then, I think two pretty sloppy goals as well.
They weren't good to concede. But again, I think that I can understand the frustration from the urgency, and that is probably due to the fatigue. Is that sometimes you're just really trying to will them on just to be just a little bit faster, tiny little bit faster. Like there's a couple of times that we could have been faster, and obviously
half a yard, just the tiniest
we were able
bit.
to inject that pace a little bit towards the end of the game with when Leo came on and stuff. But even then, there were a lot of times that he was just completely out on his own because there's a big battle going on in the midfield, and then eventually the ball would come out to him.
Or a short breeze blew over a player and the referee decided to give it as a foul.
The thing is, we've kind of discounted talking about the ref, but I think anyone that was in the stadium tonight knows everybody's opinion on both the ref and the lino towards the end, and how long it took for them to pick up a card. And
shocking! It was awful.
But again, if it was the other way, to devil's advocate, mate, if it was the other way round. We had
call it out.
You'd still call it out, but we have the famous meme of Ryan Bertrand tapping his watch, and it's a part of every single thing, right? There was the conversation at the weekend where I don't know if you've seen Haaland was talking about if you go down, if you're too honest, and that's why a lot of players fall over and take their time, and this that, and the other is it needs to be, as we've always asked, to be more consistent. And there were a couple of times where a throw-in should have definitely been ours, but wasn't. That led to an attack for them. But we also got the news today that
aside from the soft fouls,
wasn't the worst referee game.
The way he dealt with the time wasting throughout was pretty consistent and pretty good. He didn't stand for a lot of it, and he added the time on at the end, and even the time wasting in the extra time, he added a bit on at the end for it. So
we had that. We had the corner.
I don't have a lot of complaints about sort of how he dealt with the dark arts, but apart from just the blatant dives he was giving as fouls against us, was just shocking.
Your exact screaming, mate, your exact screaming at the top of your voice, which you often don't remember, which is always fun to spend time with you. Do you know it's a contact sport ref? Words to that effect. You can fill in all of the blanks and the expletives, but obviously,
I think at one point when the police response team walked past in front, I said, "Are you going to deal with that Lino's criminal performance as well?" Which I think got a bit of a snigger.
Got a laugh off me, mate, put it that way. But we came up against a side that did, when we played against Swansea, didn't really have a lot to play for this season, but wants to get the best result they possibly can and finish the highest they can. Their fans tried to give us a bit of banter right up until it was 2-2, and then we didn't hear them for the rest of the game. But fair play. I just kind of feel like we broke the curse, just not the way that we wanted to break it. And now it is in the hands of the playoffs, and we all need to be sharp. But there was a big portion of this season where we didn't even think that was going to be a possibility. Genuinely championship survival. And you can look over to a club that has been run poorly and a club that have made assumptions that they are going to just win the league and were in a higher position than us when we were in our worst time of this season, who have now just been relegated, and go, wow, that really, really sucks. They won the Premier League a decade ago. Maybe it isn't actually that bad that we got a draw on a Tuesday night at home.
And actually, it might be me trying to find a silver lining or find the optimism, as is my nature. but there is an argument that it's kind of a blessing in disguise because the pressure's kind of off now, right? For the Ipswich game and the Preston game, right? Like, obviously, we're still going to want to win and keep our unbeaten streak going and finish as high in the table as we possibly can, because the higher we finish in the table, the better our playoff position is. Regardless of who we end up playing, it feels like it's probably much of a muchness. All of the teams are going to be a tough match. But finishing third or fourth means we get that second leg at home, and that's important. But it's not as do or die of, well, we need to win every game, so we try and get the automatics, which gives us perhaps the opportunity to properly handle some of that fatigue and make sure that heading into the playoffs and potentially an FA Cup final, that we are dealing ourselves the best hand for those games that are now the important ones.
Yeah. Well, I think it wasn't also like due to a lack of trying. We obviously had a lot of subs and stuff today. How did you make some of those substitutions, other than the one that confused everybody, where at one point Laren was coming off and then it turns out it was actually Archer, and then that was a fun bit of confusion for no reason whatsoever. Obviously,
I thought we'd abandoned strikers and just brought on all of the wingers, but actually we did throw other strikers on the pitch. But yeah, I think I'm just reminding myself of what the actual substitution orders were. But yeah, so what we got Leo and Fellows on in just before the 60-minute mark, which makes sense. Pushing them in the wide areas was where we were always going to create our chances, because that was where they were giving us the space to do it. So bringing on players like Leo and Tom, where that quality is there, it spoke for itself, really. That an excellent assist from Fellows for the Ross Stewart equaliser.
It's a very good goal.
Yeah, it was. I think no issues with that. And then Yander on for Azaz and Stewart on for Bree. That was just us throwing things at it, right? We were not. Yeah. It was the active decision of, I would rather lose this game trying to win than settle for a draw, which I guess makes sense in the context of trying to do everything we could possibly do to go for automatics, which is partially why I think it's like a blessing in disguise, right? Because now we don't have to throw the kitchen sink at it every game. We can, we still need to win those games, but it's not like full-on cup final levels of pressure to win. Like a point against Ipswich and beating Preston is probably enough to guarantee at least fourth, which is good enough, I think. We went up from fourth last time, so why not?
Yeah.
And then brag on for Downs. It was fine.
I think Bragg put in a really good little cameo performance. He was definitely one of the, towards the end, obviously having very fresh legs was one of the key trying to drive it forward. And I think that was just, I just think it was just a bit off today. And I think that the team effort and the team spirit shone through to be able to even get the 2 goals and to be able to fight back. I
don't even know if I would say it was off. Like, there were some signs of fatigue through the squad, but I just think that Bristol came and gave us a really good game. And on the face of it, looking back at the game, trying to take emotion out of it, which is not my specialty, to be fair.
Yeah, I struggle with that, mate. Don't know if you can tell.
A draw is probably a fair result for how the game played out.
Yeah, no, you're right. Even after the first goal that we scored, you turned and said, I don't really think we deserved that, but I'll take it.
Yeah. So, look, it came from a set piece, and it was another excellent Ryan Manning delivery into Larin, who was never going to miss. So
What more is
fine.
there to say about a 2-2 draw on a Tuesday night? That's the thing, right? And again,
it felt
there's so much
deflating.
drama elsewhere.
It felt deflating because of how good we have been prior to this, and because of the genuine belief that we were just going to win all of the games of the rest of the season. But actually, I think there's still so many positives to take from it. And 20 games unbeaten is crazy. Like it's genuinely insane.
2 strikers scored a goal apiece, mate. That's like what the things we would have done to be able to achieve that last season.
Yeah, like
strikers even scoring a goal.
We conceded a sloppy goal, but then didn't capitulate and went back and equalised.
Yeah.
Twice.
That's the thing, right? Is I guess when you look at it that way, it's even more mad.
And you sort of see it shining through, because when we scored that second goal, there was no doubt. Everyone believed we were going to go on and get the third, and if we'd have played for another 10 minutes, maybe we would have. But it is what it is. I hope that it becomes that blessing in disguise, and that we, like I say, just now have to focus on putting the best effort we can into those games that crucially matter.
Yeah, plus a semi-final at Wembley on Saturday, mate. Like, let's not forget that. That's coming out of the woodwork. That would be really exciting and a great thing for us to have in the bank, regardless of whatever comes of this season. And we are having to discuss all possibilities, because obviously we got to try and plan content around it. That's hard enough as it is.
Well, that's it, right? Because as it stands currently, there are genuinely 3 different leagues we could be playing in next year. This is not out of the question, is it?
No, you're right. No, until it's not. It is genuinely a thing that could take place. But
look forward to trying to squeeze in a Tuesday night Championship game and a Thursday night European away day into our schedule.
But yeah, I just think that I guess the overarching feeling that I actually have, being home and enjoying a nice Tuesday night of football, seeing 2 really good goals, is, I guess, grateful. Because when I say enjoy the moments, enjoy the team, because this team in one way or another will not exist. Whether we go up or down, it will not be the same team come next season. But on top of that, grateful for the fact that, as much as we have criticised Sports Republic, and as much as there is a lot of valid criticism there, we are not looking down the barrel of League One after winning the Premier League a decade ago. We are not looking, these stories are emerging across the football leagues, right? You've got even in the Premier League, you've got Tottenham and everything that's going on there. And it's just man, you know what? I'm really glad I was born in this little tiny city on the south coast and get to support this very, very wonderful, family club. You obviously have Mick Shannon on halftime today, giving a lovely little. That was really, really nice to hear from him. Talking about how important Saints is to him, and how important it is to the city, and how important it is to the people. And yeah, I guess
a half-time game from 3 blokes who are never making it anywhere near even a 5-a-side team.
My favourite was your son being I don't understand, it's not hard, just kick it in the middle.
Yeah.
which quite frankly was the most simplistic way to explain what needed to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again grateful, I guess, is where I'm at overall. And as you said, okay, it's not the best. Would have loved to win. Would have loved to still had the idea that we could have gone up by the automatics. It's not like our former goalkeeper did anything to. I say former, still technically part of us, but I feel bad for Baz, man, because that wasn't a very good goal to concede.
It's been a long emotional roller coaster of a game, but look, we got to stick to the positives. That's what we do on this show. Confirmed playoffs.
Yep.
20 games unbeaten. How can you not be feeling positive about that?
You didn't lose to Bristol City, who have broken both of the unbeaten streaks in recent memory.
Exactly. And frankly,
Wembley semi-final on Saturday versus City.
Yeah, honestly, Bristol City feel probably the scariest team we're playing this week, right?
Yeah, probably.
Definitely.
We're able to do it. Why not? It's going to be fun.
That is all we have got time for today. So listen, let us know your feelings and your thoughts on the game in the comments on the socials. We are Daily Saints Pod, absolutely everywhere. X, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Hit us up, let us know. And while you're there, why not give us a like, a subscribe, or a follow? It really goes a long way to helping us out, and we really appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow for a slightly more put together, slightly less late night episode where we talk some things, football or Saints. I don't know. We'll work it out.
This is entirely if both of us have our voices.
That's it. Yeah,
I don't think there's a lot.
But until then, everyone, have a wonderful day. Remember, 20 games unbeaten is still incredible. And until then, have a great day.
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.